Hey everyone, Raj here. So the channel has reached 200 subscribers. That's a huge milestone for me and for the channel. So I wanted to take a few minutes to really thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel, everyone who's liked my videos, and everyone who's commented on my videos. I try to read all the comments and reply to them. So huge thank you to everyone who's supported the channel so far. I hope my content has been useful to you in some way, and I hope to continue producing valuable content that helps you in your journey in life. And I will try my best to keep producing high quality content on, life advice, coding advice, software engineering, and just lessons from my journey as a person, as a software engineer, as a professional. Yeah, so thank you again for everyone. We reached 200 subscribers, so that's an amazing achievement. Yeah, let's just keep it going. In the last video, I shared some of the lessons I learned after I dropped out of high school in my pursuit to become an AI engineer. So some of you have been asking for the exact roadmap which I used to acquire the skills to become an AI engineer. So I'm going to dedicate this video to discussing the exact steps which I took to acquire the skills to become an AI engineer. The courses, the certifications, some of the projects, all the sources which I used to gather the materials to learn. If you are thinking of learning to code, or maybe you're already starting to learn to code and you want advice on your next steps or what other technologies there are to learn, I think this will be a great video for you. So this is literally going to be the exact steps I took to learn how to code and to acquire the skills I have today. So it's going to be completely honest, no BS, just straight up the steps I took to achieve the skills I have today as a software engineer or an AI engineer. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing I did in my journey is not actually directly related to coding, but I still think it's a really important skill to have as a software engineer and even someone who's working in the digital age. I think this is a really essential skill to have, and it's touch typing, or being able to type without looking at your keys. Especially as a software engineer, your productivity is kind of related to how fast you can express your ideas in the form of code. So typing is definitely an essential skill to have and an essential skill to master as a software engineer. Now, the website I use to learn typing is typing.com. It's free, it's great, so let's take a quick look at it. So this is the typing.com website. To get started, all you need to do is create an account. As I said, it's free, so it's really easy to get in here, create an account. And you can see that when you're inside, you get this nice little dashboard, and you can see it's got individual lessons for all of the keys. So right now we're in the beginner section, and you can see it's got this lesson for the J, F, and space keys. So if we take a quick look at that lesson, we can enter the lesson, and it's going to give us a nice interactive way to type the keys. And you can see it's showing the hand placement, the correct hand placement on the screen, so you can get your finger placement correct and you can improve your accuracy that way. They've even got assessments in here, so let's try and take the beginner assessment and see how we do. Let's continue. Okay, so you can see I'm done here, and you can see I achieved a speed of 107 words per minute with a 99% accuracy. So according to Google, the average typing speed is between 38 and 40 words per minute. And the average typing speed for programmers is between 40 to 70 words per minute with a 92% accuracy. So as a programmer, you should be able to reach a nice typing speed because this will help you be more productive while you're coding, and especially when you're learning how to code and you're learning your first language, knowing how to touch type and not being bothered by the keys will make it really easy to learn your first programming language because you're not really concerned about finding different keys. You'll be more focused on the actual concepts of the programming language that you're learning. So after I learned how to type confidently without looking at the keys, the next thing I did is actually still not related to coding, but I actually learned Microsoft Excel. Now, to learn Microsoft Excel, I did a couple of courses on a site called Udemy. And if you don't know what Udemy is, it's essentially an online learning platform where you can browse different courses by different instructors, and you can purchase these courses and learn different skills. So I'm here on my Udemy account, and you can see all the courses which I've done in the past. This is actually one of the first courses I ever purchased on Udemy. It's the Beginners to Expert Excel and Excel VBA 38 Hours Mega Course. And you can see all these different Excel courses which I've done in the past. Now, Excel actually has this interesting concept called VBA. And VBA stands for Visual Basic for Applications. VBA is essentially a computer programming language which you can use in Microsoft Excel to automate different tasks. Now, I don't remember that much of VBA, so I couldn't tell you off the top of my head the exact syntax for VBA, but it was through learning VBA that I learned about fundamental coding concepts like variables, functions, debugging, loops, and stuff like that. So after I finished learning Excel and VBA, I actually realized that coding is something that people do, it's a skill that you can learn, and it was quite fun. So I decided to go all in and learn my first programming language, and that was Python. So this is the exact course I took to learn Python. It's called the Python Programming Bootcamp by Derek Banaz. Fantastic course, the instructor is amazing. I think this course is great because the instructor assumes that this is your first programming language, so he explains the fundamental concepts in a really easy to understand way. Now, even though this course is only 60 hours of content, I specifically remember that I took around 6 months to complete this course. And the reason for that is it was my first official programming language. And even though I had dabbled in VBA in the past, Python was really my first official language, so all the concepts like for loops, variables, functions, classes, those things were very new to me, and it took quite a bit of effort to understand these concepts. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you're learning your first language, do not be discouraged if you're struggling to understand the concepts, because whenever you're learning something new for the first time, it will take time and you will have to persevere with it. But the key is to just be consistent with it, do a little bit every day, and you'll eventually get it. Even if it takes 6 months, a year, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, you can learn anything you put your mind to. And trust me, when you master your first programming language, it becomes even easier to learn your second, your third, and your fourth language. Speaking of my second language, the second language I learned was JavaScript. Now, JavaScript enables you to build websites. Usually people learn HTML and CSS before they start learning JavaScript, but I wasn't aware of this at the time. So I just dove straight into JavaScript. And along the way, I kind of picked up HTML and CSS from different YouTube tutorials, but I didn't really officially learn HTML and CSS. I kind of picked it up on the way. So now that I could build websites, I wanted to build apps. And to do that, I learned something called Kotlin. Kotlin is a programming language which you use to build Android apps. And after learning Kotlin, I actually did build an Android app and publish it to the Play Store. It's called Number Predictor. It's a simple number guessing game, and the purpose of building the app was really just to practice what I had learned in the Kotlin course. I might still have the link to the app, so I'll put it in the description below if you want to check it out. Oh, and by the way, all the courses which I'm mentioning and all of the courses which I've done in the past, I'll put a link to them in the comment section below so you can also check them out. Now, after learning how to build apps with Kotlin and Android, I wanted to build apps for iOS. Now, I realized that if I ever wanted to build an app, I would have to build 2 different code bases. I'd have to build one for Android and I'd have to build one for iOS. But I realized you can actually build one app and publish it to the 2 different Play Stores. But to do that, I had to learn a new programming language called Dart and a new framework called Flutter. Now, instead of showing you all the courses on my Udemy, I actually have all my courses and certifications listed on my LinkedIn page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over to my LinkedIn page and we can go through all the courses and certifications which I did. So I'm here on my LinkedIn page, and just scrolling down, we can go to my certifications and licenses. So click on that. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, I've listed all the different courses which I've taken. So you can see my Python Programming Bootcamp, my Excel courses, my JavaScript course, my Flutter and Dart course. It seems I haven't listed my Kotlin course here, but I'll still put the link to that course in the description box below. I also took a course on data structures and algorithms, which is really important if you're doing computer science or you're a software engineer. Data structures is essentially how we store data, and algorithms is essentially what we do on that data. So a nice example I like to use is Google Maps. So Google Maps is an app that essentially takes you from point A to point B. And the way it does that is using data structures and algorithms. So the data structure is how the data is stored. And in terms of a map, the specific data structure that would be used is called a graph. And to find the shortest path between one point of the graph and another point, there are several algorithms that can be used. Some examples are Dijkstra's algorithm, the A-star algorithm, and I'm sure there are plenty others. So I did this course on data structures and algorithms using JavaScript, and after that I learned Docker and Kubernetes. Docker is widely used in the software engineering industry. It's essentially a way to package your code and its dependencies and its operating system into a single container, so that container can then be shared elsewhere, making your code really easy to use and really easy to manage. And Kubernetes is a tool to orchestrate your different containers and essentially manage them in an organized way. Now, it was around June 2022 where I pivoted from software engineering to machine learning and AI. And here are the different courses which I did to learn machine learning and AI. So you can see here I did the Machine Learning A to Z AI course, the Modern Artificial Intelligence Masterclass, and Modern Computer Vision. So after doing all these courses on AI and learning how to train machine learning and deep learning models, I decided it was time to go after some really big and juicy certifications. And this is actually something my dad suggested to me. So I did some research and I came across the TensorFlow Developer Certificate. And this is a program in which you write a 4 to 5 hour exam, which tests you on different concepts in AI and machine learning, like training machine learning models on different datasets. And if you pass, you get the TensorFlow Developer Certificate, which you can add to your LinkedIn and essentially proves that you know how to train machine learning models and you are a certified AI practitioner. I still remember the day I took the exam. So it was a school day, so I took the day off from school. It was a 4 to 5 hour exam, so I started the exam. I think I took around 2 to 3 hours to finish it. And I still remember being nervous about submitting it early. But in the end, after about 3 hours, I decided to submit it. And thankfully the next day I received the email that I passed the TensorFlow developer exam. That was really the first big certification I achieved in my journey as an AI engineer. And of course, it didn't stop there. Following that, I went and did the IBM Machine Learning Professional Certificate, the Advanced Machine Learning on Google Cloud Specialization, and the Deep Learning Specialization, as well as databases and SQL for data science with Python. So when I finished the databases and SQL Python course, that was December 2023. And that was around the time I decided to drop out of high school to continue my pursuit to become an AI engineer and land a job as an AI engineer. So if you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll already know how the story kind of goes. I got an internship in January this year at a geospatial analysis company, and then after doing that for 1.5 months, I was able to get another internship at a different company, at a generative AI consultancy, and that is the company I am now working at as a full-time AI engineer. But even though I was already working as an AI engineer in the industry in a job at a company, I was still looking for more ways to upskill myself. And that is where the really big, juicy certifications start to come in. I decided to tackle the AWS Machine Learning Specialty Exam. Now, this is a really tough 3-hour exam by AWS. And according to the website, it validates expertise in building, training, tuning, and deploying machine learning models on AWS. Now, this exam took quite a while to prepare for. I think I was preparing for it from January, and I took the exam in June this year. So it was around 6 months to prepare for this exam. Now, obviously, I was dealing with other stuff like getting accustomed to my new role and trying to do my best as a starting member, so I couldn't give my full attention to preparing for the AWS exam. But I think around 3 months before I took the actual exam, I really decided to put all my concentration on focusing on the exam and really nailing it down. Now, because when I'm learning something, I really like to write things down, I actually have like 1 or 2 notebooks which are full of AWS concepts, and that's kind of my proof that this took quite a while to master, but it was definitely worth it. I think around June 2024, I took the exam. It lasted around 3 hours, and the next day I received the email that I passed. This exam was an online exam, so I could do it at the comfort of my own home, but there were a couple of security checks I had to go through, like showing my passport, validating my identity, and stuff like that. So this was a real deal certification. Now, after completing the AWS Machine Learning Specialty exam, I didn't stop there. And my next target was the Microsoft Certified Azure exams. Specifically, the exams I took are the Microsoft Certified Azure Fundamentals, the Microsoft Certified Azure AI Fundamentals, and the Microsoft Certified Azure AI Engineer Associate. These exams were relatively easier compared to the AWS exam, except for the last Microsoft exam, which was quite tough. And for these exams, I actually went to the physical test center in Melbourne, and I ended up passing all of these exams, which is why you can now see the certifications on my LinkedIn. So I mentioned earlier that I like to write things down when I'm learning, and I actually have a pile of notebooks that contain all of my different coding notes over the years. So I just want to go through them really quickly because I think they show a different perspective about my journey as a software engineer. So this is in no particular order, but I'm just going to go through them one by one. So here you can see these are my Excel VBA notes. You can tell I did them when I was quite young because you can see I was using colored glitter pens. So yeah, you can tell I was quite young when I did this. Here is just a scratchbook containing some AI stuff. A JavaScript book, so you can see JavaScript Intermediate, which contains some notes on JavaScript. Here is this is a math book. So when I was preparing for the TensorFlow developer exam, I actually decided to learn calculus because calculus is related to one of the algorithms in AI called backpropagation. So to really understand backpropagation, I decided to take the time to actually learn calculus. So these are my notes on calculus. Here you can see it says differential calculus. Here is a book on linear algebra. So this is one of the AWS books which I was talking about. This contains notes on different AWS services. Here is a book on data structures and algorithms, and it also says Python Advanced, so there's probably some Python notes in here as well. So you can see all the different algorithms which I wrote out. Here's a book on machine learning concepts. So this should contain some notes on machine learning. Here is a book on JavaScript basics. Here's a book on computer vision. So this is also related to AI and machine learning. So this is the exam. This is the notebook I used to prepare for the TensorFlow Developer Certificate. You can see all the different notes over there. This is Azure Fundamentals. So this is the notebook I used to prepare for my Azure exams. And here is a book on AWS. This was, I think, the first book I used to prepare for my AWS exam. So you can see all the different notes on AWS in there. So in terms of courses, certifications, and skills I've acquired over the years, that's essentially it. However, there are some other aspects which I would like to talk about, and specifically that is YouTube, projects, and having a portfolio website. So the first thing is YouTube. Now, YouTube is probably the best source for learning coding. If you just search for Python tutorial on YouTube, you'll probably find several hundred videos, and each video might be like 3 hours or even up to 20 hours long. The coding community is really a great community most of the times, and you can really find a lot of free, valuable content on YouTube. And that's really where the majority of my learning comes from. Now, I did go through all the courses which I did, but that's probably only like 30% of the learning. 70% of the learning is just going on YouTube, looking at what other people have already done, trying out different projects, and reading different websites, articles, and documentation, and really just experimenting and having fun. The second thing I want to talk about is projects. Projects are super important when becoming a software engineer because, first of all, they help you practice the skills that you have learned, and second of all, they provide proof to recruiters that you actually know how to use the technologies and skills that you have learned. So I'm here on my GitHub profile, and you can see all the projects which I've done over the past couple of years. So these are all the projects I've done. If you go to the earliest project, you can see that it was Number Predictor, which is the Android app which I was talking about. And you can see all the different projects I've done over the years. So doing projects as a software engineer is super important because they allow you to practice what you've learned, and they also provide evidence to recruiters that you know what you're doing. And the third thing I wanted to mention is having a portfolio website. So I'm going to quickly show you my portfolio website so you can take it as an example and maybe use it as inspiration for your own. So you can see this is my portfolio website. I've got a nice professional looking image. I've got links to my different pages, my LinkedIn page, my YouTube channel, my GitHub, which shows all my projects, and my Medium page, which has some articles I wrote. So scrolling down, you can see that I've listed all my skills and all my certifications, so recruiters immediately know that this guy is legit and this guy is the real deal. Here I've listed my journey. This isn't really necessary, but I thought it would be nice to kind of share my journey from when I wrote my first line of code to all the different certifications I've achieved over the years. Now this is really the most important section of your portfolio, and it's your projects. You need to showcase the best work that you've done. And here are some of the best projects that I've done over the years. There we go. And the final section in my portfolio is my articles. So around December of last year, I started to write articles on technical concepts, and you can see all the different articles I've written. Now, it's not necessary that you have to write articles, but I still think it's a great way to showcase what you've learned. But it's also great for proving to recruiters that you are passionate about the field that you have chosen and that you know your shit. So that's essentially it. I've gone through the entire roadmap I used to acquire all the skills as an AI engineer, from typing to Excel to Python to JavaScript to Flutter to Docker to Kubernetes to learning machine learning and AI to getting my AWS Azure certifications and the TensorFlow developer certificate. I've showed you that you should have a good GitHub profile where you list all your projects, you should have a portfolio website, and you should use YouTube as a source of your learning. I'd like to end this video by sharing a piece of advice, and that is the key to excelling in software engineering is about continuously upgrading yourself. Especially in the field of AI, things are moving so fast, companies are releasing new models every day, so it's really important to stay on top of things. And the most important thing is to have fun. Coding, for me at least, is really enjoyable and I really have fun doing it. I find it awesome that coding allows me to create cool stuff, and I feel like as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, you'll have no problem in upskilling yourself and learning new technologies. So that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some valuable advice from it. Perhaps you've decided on your next steps in your journey as a software engineer, or if you've never learned to code, perhaps this video has inspired you and given you a nice and clear roadmap on how you too can learn how to code. Again, all the links for the courses I've mentioned will be in the description box below, so feel free to check them out. And until next time, peace.